Yo, my name is Matt, and I own a freight brokerage, and I've gotten up to the seven-figure mark at this point, so this is exactly what I've done every day to be able to get there. So in the morning, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. You don't have to wake up at 5 a.m., but I'm on the West Coast, and a lot of my customers on the East Coast, so if I were to, let's say, wait until 8 a.m. to respond to any of their emails, they'd be getting my emails at 11 a.m. So I pretty much have no choice, and I've kind of gotten used to it now. At this point, I kind of like the quietness in the morning, so I've just stuck to it. I've gotten used to it. It's become a habit. I never thought I would get used to that time, but here we are. And then I go ahead and I walk my dog Ranger, and then I give myself a nice single shot of espresso, a bunch of water. I just chug it all in one go. And then something small to eat, like an apple or like a granola bar. I typically don't have anything like super complicated for breakfast. Then I log on to my Mac laptop and I respond to any of my customers first. You want to ignore pretty much everything else besides your customers right when you log on. Respond to them immediately. Those are the ones that are giving you business. So obviously we need to treat your customers with priority. And then we'll hop into our transportation management system, and you just say TMS, and that's where all of your loads live, all of your load details. So let's say a carrier emails you like, hey, the load has been delivered. You would go in and you would manually make that change. And there's obviously also tools as well for all of that data to come in automatically. And then for any carriers that don't automatically send me any updates, I'll make calls and send emails and get that information double checked so I can update my TMS accordingly. And then I'll look for any emails where customers are sending me loads to give quotes back to them. And let's say I do give a quote to my customer and they say, yeah, that rate works for me. I'll go back to my load board and I'll then start trying to find capacity for those loads. So I'll go ahead and I'll book those loads. Midday comes around and you're starting to post more loads onto your load board. You're securing carriers, you're vetting carriers maybe that you haven't worked with before. And then you're balancing throughout the day incoming calls and incoming emails to make sure that all of your loads get covered before the end of the day. And then you want to schedule your delivery appointments. And this is all pretty easy stuff, not necessarily extremely urgent, but obviously, yes, it does have to happen. So I typically push that stuff towards the end of the day when things aren't as chaotic, which is typically in the morning. Afternoon comes around and you're still monitoring shipments and you're confirming with carriers whether or not shipments have been picked up. You're checking in with carriers throughout the day and you're updating customers on possibly anything good or bad that's been happening throughout the day. And just a super quick tip, if there's any loads that go south super quickly, let's say a carrier has to drop off within a half an hour of a pickup that the customer said was super hot, you probably want to make a call to the customer instead of emailing them, because you don't want to be the freight broker that just hides behind their computer. You want to be upfront about it and call them and then let them know your game plan. You always want to make sure that you give them some type of action plan for how you're going to move forward with that issue. And you also want to call your customer for any big successes that you have. So let's say it's the end of the month and you hit your on-time pickup and on-time delivery that they expect of you. That should probably be a phone call. That's something to celebrate about. You want to show excitement and tell them that you have been working really hard for them. So pick up the phone when it becomes any one of those two extremes. And then between all of this stuff that I mentioned, you're pretty much prospecting throughout the whole entire day, because let's say you have 5 super solid customers. Well, you can't just stop prospecting for the next 6 months, because naturally shippers will always fall off. It always happens, and there's always a million different reasons why that can happen, no matter how hard you try. So you always want to keep prospecting and keep getting new shippers into your arsenal so more loads can keep coming through. And then it comes to the point where you can start hiring agents and have them prospect for you. And then you can focus a lot more on the relationship building with your customers. And then the evening comes around and you've updated your leads for a nice fresh start for the next day. So you're planning for the next day, you're prioritizing loads, you're following up with any clients before you hop off the computer. And probably one of the hardest things about the business is staying logged off when you log off. One of the tricks that I've used within the past just couple years that has helped me tremendously, especially with new customers, is setting the expectation that I will not respond to an email, after, let's say, 7 p.m. Because if you're, let's say, responding to an email at 10 p.m. and it's an operational email, it's nothing urgent, they'll start seeing you as someone that will just respond to them at any time. And the moment that you don't respond to them at, let's say, 10 p.m., then they'll start thinking that you're slacking. So set that expectation early and let them know that you do have boundaries. And that's pretty much my day. If there's anything that surprised you, or if you have any questions about my day-to-day, shoot it over in the comments and I'd be glad to try and help you out.